Let me tell you about silence. It is not empty. When you truly stop talking, the world gets very, very loud. I am 85. Arthur Green, a retired engineer. I build bridges, you know. Solid things meant to bear weight and connect places. I never thought I would need that skill for my own family. It started subtly a few years back. My son David and his wife Vanessa. Then came the helpful suggestions. The concern felt like a thin blanket over something colder. The final straw was my hearing aid. A simple modern little thing. Vanessa adjusted it one evening. After that, every conversation was a muffled roar. I would ask her to repeat herself, leaning in looking confused. She would speak slower, louder, with that patient condescending smile. I saw my son watch her do it, and he said nothing. That is when I knew. The hearing loss was not a malfunction, it was a message. I was becoming inconvenient, a problem to be managed. So I decided to manage it right back. I played along. I let the hearing problem get worse. I would stare blankly at the television even when it was off. To them, I was fading, a man disappearing into his own silent world. Perfectly harmless, perfectly unthreatening. My pretended deafness was my greatest listening device. They let their masks slip. I heard David talk about selling my house to fund his floundering tech startup. He would never know, he would say. I heard Vanessa complain about the burden of checking on me, the cost of my groceries, the drag on their future. I stored every word. I became a student of their whispers, their phone calls in the next room, their plans built on the assumption of my absence. I was the ghost in my own home, and I was taking notes. Then last night they came for dinner, a weekly ritual. Vanessa idea. So we can monitor him, she had told David on the phone. I sat in my armchair, a blanket over my legs, a vacant smile on my face, staring at a gardening show. They thought I was miles away. They went into the kitchen to clean up. The door was open. The conversation that turned my cold understanding into ice. The stairs are the obvious answer, Vanessa said, her voice low, clinical. No emotion, a problem-solving tone. The ones to the basement. They are wooden steep. He goes down to check the furnace sometimes. A pause. The sound of David sighing. Vanessa, we talked about this. It is too obvious. What is obvious is that we cannot wait for nature anymore, David. The life insurance is tied to the house. My father investment needs that capital now. It would look like a tragic accident. An old man, bad hearing, poor balance. She trailed off, letting the image hang. We just need to make sure he is alone when it happens. No one to find him too soon. A few hours would do it. My own son, my David, was silent for a long moment. Then I heard the sound that broke the last bridge in my heart. Not a protest. Not outrage. A soft, resigned, okay. But it has to be perfect. They were not just stealing from me. They were drafting blueprints for my murder. In the silence of my pretended deafness, I had heard my own death sentence. And in that same silence, a new plan, my plan, began to form. It was no longer about preserving dignity or teaching a lesson. It was about survival. And I may be an old man, but I am an engineer. I know how to build traps too. And I know that the most effective ones are built long before the prey ever knows it is walking into them. The hardest part was not reacting. Sitting in that chair, listening to them plot the mechanics of my demise with the cold precision of contractors discussing a demolition. The urge to stand up, to roar, to confront them, it was a physical fire in my chest, but I smothered it. An engineer does not panic when he sees a flaw in the design. He recalculates. He reinforces. So I sat, and when they came back into the living room, all false smiles and loud, slow questions. Did you enjoy your program, Arthur? I just smiled, my vague, disconnected smile, and nodded. Inside, I was building a new structure. A bridge from their betrayal to my justice. That night, in the deep quiet of my room, I began my countermeasures. First, I went to the basement. Those steep wooden stairs. I examined them like a crime scene because soon they would be. But not for me. I made a subtle adjustment. Not to break them. To make one specific step unreliable. A loose nail here, a slight weakening of a joint there. Enough to give way under sudden sharp pressure. A man weight coming down hard. An accident waiting for a different victim. Next, I addressed the issue of being alone. I called an old friend the next morning using a text-to-speech app on a secret tablet I kept. My friend Walter, a retired police detective. I typed out the situation. I sent him the audio. I had started recording on my phone the moment they went into the kitchen. Their entire conversation. Every damning word. Walter's response was immediate, furious, and full of grim purpose. We devised a schedule. He or his nephew would have reason to call or drop by at unpredictable times over the next week, breaking the isolation, making their perfect timing impossible. Not the small one in the closet they knew about. The one behind the wall panel in the basement next to the faulty step. Inside were the real tools of my liberation. My original will leaving everything to a veterans charity, the insurance policy documents, and the deed to the house which was never in any trust, no matter what David believed. I made copies. I scanned them. I sent them to Walter and to a sharp, ruthless lawyer named Miss Vance, whose card I had kept for a decade just in case. Finally, I prepared the stage. The kind that could connect to a phone, to a recorder. I would wear it when the time was right. I also planted a second hidden voice-activated recorder in the living room, nestled in the hollow of a bookshelf behind a photograph of David as a boy. The final piece was the invitation. A week after the kitchen conversation, I let it slip, mumbling to myself while Vanessa was in earshot, that I had a big appointment with the bankman about the house papers on Thursday at 2 p.m. I saw her eyes light up. It was the perfect window. I would be going out creating their opportunity. Thursday arrived. I made a show of getting ready. I put on my new hearing aid hidden under the fold of my ear. I fumbled with my coat. "I will drive you," Dad David said too quickly. No, I waved him off, my voice deliberately weak. "I will take a cab. The fresh air after." I left at 1:30 p.m. I took the cab 2 blocks, got out, and walked straight to Walter's car parked around the corner. We drove back. We entered through the back garden gate, which I had left unlocked. We stood silently in my kitchen listening. We did not have to wait long. At 1:45 p.m. we heard the front door open. Vanessa's voice tense with excitement. "He is gone. The cab left. We have at least 90 minutes. He must have gone down this morning. It is already set." I looked at Walter. He gave me a hard, grim nod. He had 2 uniformed officers waiting outside, alerted by his text. We heard their footsteps move through the house toward the basement door, heard it open, heard them descend. I counted their steps. 1, 2, 3. On the 4th step, I heard a sharp crack, a startled cry, Vanessa, and a heavy tumbling thud, followed by a pained shout from David. The faulty step. The trap had sprung, not for the old man, for the predators. Walter and I moved then. We walked to the top of the basement stairs. David was on the floor, clutching his ankle, groaning. Not deaf. My posture straight, my eyes clear and cold. The hearing aid was visible now. "Hello, David," I said, my voice steady, ringing in the dusty basement air. "Vanessa. Having a little accident." The horror on their faces was the first taste of justice. It was sweet. You can hear," David stammered. "I have heard everything," I said. I held up my phone, "And so has Detective Walters here, and my lawyer, and the district attorney office." Walter stepped forward, his badge in his hand. The 2 uniformed officers came down the stairs behind us. "David Green, Vanessa Green, you are under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder and attempted elder fraud." The rest was a satisfying blur, the reading of rights, the cries of protest turning to sobs of despair. As they were led away, Vanessa twisted to look at me, her face a mask of fury. "You set us up. You evil old man." I leaned close so only she could hear. "No, dear, I am an engineer. I just corrected a fatal flaw in your design." And in that silence, I heard the truth. I used their own plot as the blueprint for their ruin. My revenge was not violence. It was patience. It was evidence. It was the law. And now the silence in my house is finally peaceful. It is not the quiet of being ignored. It is the quiet of being free. Some people think old age is about waiting for the end. They are wrong. It is about having the time to make sure justice gets the final word.